to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the interview with the vampire, episode 6, entitled Like the Hand by Which God Made the World Before He Made Light. Mouthful, right? Got my handy dandy laptop down here, got my notes ready to go. My cat is not here for once. And we're gonna try and not film too long so he does not come. So this episode is very Madeline and Claudia specific, so I wanted to kind of honor that with the look. So in our interview palette, we dug into the red shade, which is called The Dark Gift. We dug into Claudia and also Louis. For obvious reasons, if you've seen the episode. But this red is a little dark, so we brought it to life with the red in the Danger Days palette, which is called, funnily enough, Vampire Money. So we dug a little bit into that just to bring out the red a little bit more in the interview palette. We also used a tiny bit of Infinite here just to bring out Louis a little bit, since Louis is pretty dark. So yeah, that was what we did with the makeup look this time. I also kind of did a little homage with the hair. The color was completely non-intentional. I was just seeing a lot of girls wearing this color and I was like, oh, let me try it. But it honestly goes with Madeline. Since she's a redhead, we kind of tried to do some little swirls with the braids, and it came out pretty cute. So let's get into this episode. So we've stayed in Paris pretty much this whole episode with a few main plot points going on, not too much different storylines going on. So we have the main, mutiny plot line with the coven going against Armand. We have Claudia making Madeline, Claudia and Louis. We have Armand's betrayal, his choice, and we have Louis' sort of building ennui that has been brewing throughout the whole season pretty much. So yeah, we're gonna hit on those main things. I think the first thing that I really want to talk about before everything, the main juicy bits, is Armand's betrayal. So during the episode, the coven is working on a new play. Armand is thinking, I have to double down, get back involved with the coven more so than I have been in the past, being caught up with Louis. So he's praising the actors, particularly Santiago, and he thinks putting more attention into the coven, more attention specifically on Santiago, will sort of quell the mutiny. But in the background, we see that Santiago has shared Claudia's diary with other members of the coven, and I'm thinking we see that we have some members of the coven that were initially right on board with the mutiny, but maybe he's trying to convince the others, and those are the ones that we see reading Claudia's diary for the first time. It almost seems like maybe he's trying to convert more members to back his cause in his hand for power, right? So Armand is talking to him. He's acting on the stage, but in the background, he's talking to members of the coven who he has sent to Roger and Associates to get more information about Lestat, right? And people are saying that they don't understand why how Armand cannot see this plotting going on right underneath his nose. He says that it's love that blinded him in the present. Other people say that he is manipulating everyone, that he is actually well aware of the plotting that's going on around him. Louis doesn't buy it, that it's love. I don't buy that he is all-knowing, all-aware, all-powerful. I think that Armand is powerful, but he is not all-powerful. He's not all-knowing. especially where we're dealing with other vampires who have gifts as well. Vampires can block their thoughts from other vampires. So we don't know the extent of all of these other vampires' powers, how strong their mind gift is as well. And we also see that Armand's mind gift and influence can lessen over time. Louis and Daniel, when they got together and really put their minds to it to try and figure out what happened between them, really sit there and think and try and piece out what was going on, they remembered. So it's not like something that is completely, that can't be altered, right? It's something that can be worn down and worn away. So I can totally see the plot of multiple vampires working together and against one working. I can see it. I can understand it. Like I said, Louis doesn't really buy it. Daniel doesn't buy it for sure. Both of them have their own issues going on with him, so they're really not believing a lot of what Armand has to say. So that brings us to here goes the cat, Romeo. Hopefully he can make his spot down here and not get into frame too much. Okay, sit down, relax. If you hear heavy breathing, that's him from now on. So we have the mutiny brewing, and what is Armand going to do about it? Now, at the end of the episode, Armand says that he made a choice. I initially thought the choice that he made was choosing himself, choosing to remain in power, choosing to remain in the coven, especially since we have this change in dynamic between him and Louis. Louis has taken on a much more dominant stance in the relationship, and maybe Armand's over it. Maybe he's like, Louis wasn't. Maybe this is not what I want. That's what I thought initially when he says, when he comes in and he says, I made a choice, right? But thinking on it further and how that does not really go with Louis staying with him after the events have passed and staying with him for 77 years. So I'm thinking now that the choice wasn't himself and remaining in power, but the choice was him and Louis, and that he would sell Claudia and Madeline out, especially because they have broken all the rules. Literally all of them. I can't not. I'm so upset with this girl. But now I'm thinking that the choice was to give up Claudia and Madeline. I think that Armand was pissed that Claudia not only broke all the rules, that she tried to, him and Louis try to put him into cahoots with it for breaking the coven rules. I think Armand is less accepting of Claudia breaking coven rules as opposed to Louis, because Louis is not a part of the coven. Also, Louis, he's in love with Louis, right? But Claudia has come in, stirred up all this drama, and first of all, her whole existence is an affront to the coven and their rules. And he really does not have any ties to her. And like Louis says, can you imagine me without the burden of her? Now, I feel like we don't see a lot of her being a burden to him in regards to Armand and Louis' relationship, as opposed to like it was in the books. She was much more dependent on him, and she was much more insistent that they leave. Here, Louis was kind of the one that was more insistent that they leave to start with because of the dangers that they were in. But Armand is the coven leader. He is the one who's in charge of making sure it runs smoothly and that these rules are being followed. And we have Claudia coming here, not only as a part of this coven, but asking the maître, the coven master to break and bend the rules for her. It's just like, who are you to ask him to do this? So I think him giving her and Madeline up was the deal, was the choice, and he was happy to make it, honestly. If Louis and Claudia would have done it behind Armand's back, maybe that would have been even, I was gonna say maybe it would have been better, but I don't think it would have made a difference. It might have made things worse, actually. Because they ask and then do it anyway, even though Armand's like totally against it. So if they would have asked before doing it or without asking him at all, I think the consequences might have been even more disastrous. Maybe, you know, Madeline and Claudia seem to have gotten a couple of months to a couple of years in bliss, in companionable bliss. But in the books and the movie, it happens immediately that they meet the consequences of their actions. He struck a deal with the coven, and that deal is probably that Louis is gonna get a slap on the wrist, but Madeline and Claudia are gonna die. Armand would have accepted those terms, being that, you know, him and Louis will ultimately be together and it would be out of his hands, right? He could not prevent it. However, I'm thinking that the coven might have double-crossed him in that, okay, now Louis is gonna be buried alive like he is in the books for a couple of decades or so. So that's Armand and his choice, and I'm just completely upset about it. Once he saw that, I don't understand why he didn't leave with Louis, why he didn't convince Louis to leave. There's nothing left for them there. He's out of the coven. Like, why did he have to make this choice? So I think there's something that we're not seeing, that we don't know, that is yet to come to life in terms of Armand and this choice. Staying on the subject of Armand, do we believe him saying that Louis asked him to remove his memories of walking into the sun? So I lost some footage here, but I was saying that the recovery of the memory obviously brings up contention and strife in the relationship. He sees that it obviously hurts Louis and upsets Louis, and he is the keeper of Louis's happiness, according to him. He doesn't want this strife in their relationship. So of course that's the next plausible explanation. Oh, you asked me to do it, right? And also I believe that Louis asked him, because why would Louis ask him to remove this memory? Because it doesn't erase the underlying issues of why he walked into the sun. He's still guilt-ridden about Claudia. He's still extremely upset about the role that he might have played in it. We don't know. The guilt of staying with Armand, who literally had a role in Claudia's demise. And it also does not account for the fact that not only did Armand erase him going into the sun, he erased the fight. Why would he have to have erased the fight, right? I think as long as those feelings were simmering under the surface, it was fine. As long as these things are not said, it's fine. We can deal with the underlying resentment. But once it's out in the open and in a tangible thing in between them, that's something else. So he even went further back to erase that part of what happened. That's my 2 cents on that situation. Okay, so now let's talk about Claudia and Madeline. Claudeline, if you will. So a lot of people were shipping them, like I said before it was even announced that, it was going to be a romantic relationship. But, I was never on that bandwagon, still not on that bandwagon. I think Madeline was too into the idea of becoming a vampire right away. But she is a woman who does not have a lot of power or any power in the society. She's a pariah. She is ostracized. She's harassed constantly. She does not have friends. She does not have family. So when Claudia comes and kills all these people and she finds her drinking their blood, my initial thought was it would not be vampire. It would be, this girl is a weird serial killer and I have to get far away as possible. But it's not like Louis, who is in the center of New Orleans and there's rumors of witches, and we have voodoo going on like in the backdrop, and all these like supernatural kind of phenomena is like in the hot spot of New Orleans at that time, right? So it lends some more credibility that Louis would be like more understanding. And then especially because also Lestat was showing him little tastes of his power throughout their courtship. Madeline, on the other hand, there's why would she jump straight to vampire? And then why would she jump right on board afterward? I feel like that she might have been taken with the idea of power and getting some more agency in her life. What was it? Also Claudia? Sure, but I feel like it was a lot to do with the power of vampirism. She's immediately sitting in Louis' coffin and reading, Claudia's diaries, but particularly the last words of victims. And she asks Claudia, what does blood taste like? Does it taste like taking life itself, right? And later on in the episode, when they're at the cafe, Louis confronts her with her visions while she was dying. Who is Claudia to replace the little girl that you lost, your sister? And so even Louis has some reservations about her, and Claudia says, oh yeah, we had it out about that. So Louis would know. He kind of used her as a replacement for his sister, as a replacement for his family, a family of his own. So he knows a little something about that. So, and Claudia saw it as well in the visions and says, oh, we had it out about that. So, but it's still something that's lingering, like that she's a replacement and that she is also some being that can give Madeline some power. We have Armand telling her, what are you gonna do when the loneliness sets in? What are you gonna do when you have to kill different people? And what about the people that they're leaving behind? What about this? What about that? She's being very dismissive of a vampire who has lived experience with these things. So I feel like she's clearly not a normal person. A normal person would have ran for the hills, right? But her reaction feels very much that she's very interested in the power to be gained from being a vampire. I was wondering that if this will be a part of the trial. Maybe not. A lot of the cast, a lot of fans seem to think that she's very genuine in her feelings for Claudia. I think we all needed more time with Claudia and Madeline to make that decision of, is she better for Claudia than any of her other companions? And is she 100%, somebody who's good for her? And finally, I want to talk about Louis, my precious son, Louis, who has hardened his heart. He's covered in shells, and he has put on this front to protect himself, that it's kind of become who he is in a certain way. He has hardened his heart to love because of his experience with Lestat. So he's being very cautious in his dealings with Armand. He has been forced to distance himself from Claudia because he realizes her disdain for him. He has to take a step back from this fatherly, brotherly figure, and that hurts him, because that's his daughter. In his heart of hearts, that's his daughter. this gulf that has come between them is really insurmountable in a lot of ways because of Lestat and because he didn't actually go through with killing him, and because Louis has the audacity, in Claudia's eyes, the audacity to have a life without her while she's being, you know, while she's not happy, he can't be happy, and he has the audacity to be happy. So he has to regretfully let her go as well. He has to let go of this idea that he can be part of humanity in any kind of meaningful way. He has to embrace being a vampire. He has to embrace killing. He has to embrace that he needs blood to survive. So all of these things, you know, he can't be a part of the coven because the coven does not want him. He does not want the coven, so he can't be a part of vampire life. He can't be a part of human life. The love of his life, this new love, can't compare to his old love in any sort of way, in any way that, you know, he wants. So all of these things have compounded to harden Louis' heart, and it's so sad, so sad. So I'm wondering if we're gonna get some sort of explanation. I wonder if this is how Louis is truly feeling in the moment, this blasé, I didn't care attitude, or if it was Armand's influence. Because in the books, spoiler alert, in the books, Armand sort of admits that he influenced Louis to turn Madeline because he was so against it. But Armand wants Madeline to be turned so Claudia can have a companion and they can leave, right? So they can fuck off and leave him and Louis to bliss, vampire bliss, just the two of them. So in the books, he does influence Louis to turn her, and I'm wondering if he is going to be shown to have had some influence of Louis really not caring about turning Madeline, letting Claudia go, and we do see Armand saying, "Oh, you know, give it some time, you'll find each other again, she's a good one to have," or something like that. And I'm like, girl, please, that screams inauthentic. That screams Armand is up to something. I cannot imagine Armand saying something like that, especially book Armand. Show Armand, it's 50-50, but book Armand, hell no. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this episode. We do have Rashid kind of being revealed to be a Talamasca agent, which I did not expect that. I know some people thought that he was. Some people thought he was a vampire. Some people, you know, there were all sorts of theories. I'm pretty sure maybe there's a theory that he's Alice. Who knows? But that kind of surprised me that he actually is a Talamasca person. How did he get into Dubai? Who knows? But it was pretty funny seeing him and Daniel eating at the restaurant, especially after Daniel's rant telling him, I'm gonna break you, real Rashid, I'm gonna break you. So that was pretty funny. But I'm excited to see where we're gonna go. We had Raglan made an appearance again. He's giving hints about his true self. You know, oh, I wish if we could switch bodies, all that. And the switch between Daniel kind of not really seeming like he cared too much about living through this situation, to him saying, I want to live through it. That's a pretty fun switch. Yeah, y'all, what did y'all think about this episode? Do we believe Armand? Period. I feel like I go back and forth with him each episode, like, oh, this Armand in this episode definitely could not have prevented it. He's definitely telling the truth. Then I'm flipping it flipping on its head on the next episode. Not only could he have prevented it, but he orchestrated it. So it's going back and forth each episode. And what do y'all think about Armand and his motivations in this season? What do we feel about seeing Lestat again? I know a lot of the girlies were like, oh, that's not the real Lestat. Like, something's up with him, but yet we saw like 30 seconds. Like, let's give a little bit more time with it, okay? Before we make some snap judgments about what's going on in Lestat's brain. God knows what's going on in Lestat's brain. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where we're going this season. For the rest of these episodes, only 2 more to go. It's gonna be wild. These next 2 episodes are gonna be wild. Are we ready for it? I don't think I am. But anyway, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you're thinking down below. Really am interested in having conversations about this show. I could go on and on about this show, but we're gonna cut it right here. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Sit down. Go ahead, sit down. Sit down.